This video is for historical purposes only. I don't affiliate with any political party, and I am not a licensed doctor. Thank you. Welcome back to another video. Now that I have discussed some drugs from World War II, I'd like to discuss the scientists who created the drugs. Starting off with Hörlein. I discussed him in my previous video, but I'd like to dig into more detail because I was just curious. Anyways, Hörlein was born on June 5th, 1882, in Rindemschein, Rhenish-Hesse, Germany. As he got older, in 1900 he went to college at Technical University of Darmstadt, and then later he also went to the University of Jena in 1902. After, he graduated college in 1903 with a doctorate. Finally out of school, he worked for his old mentor as an assistant until 1909. His mentor being Ludwig Kohr, who was a chemist. Hörlein succeeded Arthur Heitengard as the head of pharmaceutical research laboratories at Bayer in 1911. In his role, he developed luminol in 1912, which I discussed in a previous video. In 1914, Hörlein became an authorized signatory of the company, adding the deputy directorship in 1919, before in 1921 becoming an alternative member of the managing board of the company. 4 years later, IG Farben was founded, joining together Bayer and several other chemical companies. Hörlein was also an alternative member for the IG Farben's managing board. And then in 1926, he was made as the head of pharmaceutical research department. A few years later, he joined the Nazi Party in June of 1943, one of the many leading figures at IG Farben to do so, once the party came to power. But the previous year, he almost fell out of favor with the party when he campaigned against Hermann Göring's law banning the testing on animals, something Hörlein considered essential for his research. He was eventually able to partially lift the ban, though. Hörlein was also instrumental in introducing the Wehrmacht to nerve agent Tubon, but it was discovered by someone else. After its introduction, it was sent to be manufactured at Dyventhurth, now Brzezinsk, Poland, in 1939. He was also involved with a compound called Zyklon B. He was regularly told the sales numbers in private, and was fully aware of the company's relationship with the concentration camps. Toward the end of the war, Hörlein knew German defeat was coming, so he moved his operations to Leverkusen and began to maintain a lower profile. After the war, he was part of the IG Farben trial because of his managerial position, but he was acquitted and released. Then he was returned to and took his place back on the Bayer board. Then in 1952, he received an honorary doctorate from the Technical University of Darmstadt. Finally, in 1955, the city of Leverkusen named the city street after him. Next we have Alexander Fleming. Sir Alexander Fleming, who was born on the 6th of August, 1881, at Lockfield Farm, near Darvel in Ayrshire, and died March 11th, 1955. He was a Scottish physician and a microbiologist, best known for discovering penicillin, which I have discussed in a previous video. As a reward for discovery, he earned the Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 1945, and he shared it with Howard Florey and Ernest Chain. Fleming was also knighted for his discoveries a year earlier. His education started when Fleming went to Loudon Moor School and Darvel School and earned a 2-year scholarship to Kimrock Academy, which is 11th to 7th grade co-educational secondary school, before moving to London, where he attended the Royal Polytechnic Institution. 4 years later, after his uncle passed away, and his older brother, who was a physician, suggested the profession, he enrolled at St. Mary's Hospital Medical School in Paddington, now part of Imperial College London. He qualified with an MBBS from the school, with a distinction in 1906. Fleming was also a private in the London Scottish Regiment of the Volunteer Force from 1900 to 1914, and was a member of the Rifle Club at his medical school. Because of his membership and exceptional skill, the captain of the rifle team asked him to stay to join the research department at St. Mary's, where he became an assistant bacteriologist to Sir Amyth Wright, a pioneer in vaccine therapy and immunology. Later in 1908, he earned a bachelor's in science with a gold medal in bacteriology and became a lecturer at St. Mary's until 1914. Also in 1914, he was a commissioned lieutenant and promoted to captain in 1917. Fleming served throughout World War I in the Royal Army Medical Corps. He and many of his colleagues worked in battlefield hospitals on the Western Front in France. And in 1918, he returned to St. Mary's Hospital, where he's elected professor of bacteriology of the University of London in 1928. Fleming was the third of 4 children, and during his earliest years, Fleming also lost his birth mother when he was 7. Much later in his life, in 1915, he married Sarah Marion McElroy, a trained nurse from Mayo County, Ireland. Their only child, Robert Fleming, who lived from 1924 to 2015, became a general medical practitioner. Next, we have Benjamin Louis Salmon, an American doctor who died in the Pacific Theater and was one of 3 Jewish Americans and dentists, those being separate categories, of soldiers who received the Medal of Honor during World War II. Salmon was born in a Jewish family in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, on September 1st, 1914. He was an Eagle Scout, one of 9 who were awarded the Medal of Honor. He graduated from Shorewood High School and attended Marquette University before transferring to the University of Southern California, where he completed his undergraduate degree and graduated from UCS Dental School in 1937. 3 years later, he was drafted as a private with the infantry and qualified as expert in rifle and pistol. 2 years later, in 1942, he was notified he'd become an officer in the Army and started out as a first lieutenant. And in August, his CEO called him the best all-around soldier. Later in 1943, he was serving as regimental dental officer in the 105th Infantry Regiment, 27th Infantry Division, when he was promoted to a captain a year later. In June of 1944, Salmon saw his first combat, going ashore on Saipan with the 105th Infantry. With dental work slowing down because of active combat, Salmon volunteered to replace a 2nd Battalion surgeon who had been wounded. Casualties were high as the 2nd Battalion advanced. On July 7th, Salmon's aid station was set up only 50 yards behind the forward foxhole line. Fighting was heavy, and a major Japanese assault soon overran the perimeter. Then the aid station. Salmon was able to grab an M1 Garand that was near him, kill the enemy that entered the hospital tent, and order the wounded to be evacuated, while he stayed and fired upon the incoming enemy with an M1917 machine gun to cover their withdrawal. When the army team returned to the site days later, Salmon's body was found slumped over a machine gun, with the bodies of 98 enemy troops piled up in front of his position. His body had 76 bullet wounds in it, and many bayonet wounds, up to 24 of which had been received while he was still alive. Now, on the opposite side of the coin of Salmon, we have Shirato Ishii, a Japanese bioterrorist, licensed microbiologist, and army medical officer who served as director of Unit 731, a biological warfare unit of the Imperial Japanese Army, where they developed and applied biological weapons in China during the Second Sino-Japanese War from 1937 to 1945. I'll go into detail more shortly. Ishii was born in the Chiba Prefecture of Japan, and is the 4th son of Kasikia, a wealthy landowner and Japanese rice wine maker. The Ishii family was prominent in their village because of the large amount of land they owned. Because of the amount of land they owned, they had a near feudal-like control over the city. Ishii's siblings also were service members. For example, his eldest brother was killed during the Russo-Japanese War, and his 2 older brothers would go to work under him at Unit 731. Ishii attended Chiba Middle School in Chiba City and the 4th Higher School in Kanzawana. Fun fact, some of his classmates regarded him as brash, abrasive, and arrogant. In 1916, Ishii enrolled at the Faculty of Medicine, Kyoto Imperial University. Then in 1920, he graduated and married the university's president's daughter. Holy mouthful. His career started a year after he graduated, when he was commissioned to the Imperial Japanese Army as a military surgeon with the rank of Army Surgeon, First Class, Surgeon Lieutenant. When 1927 rolled around, Ishii was still advocating for the creation of Japanese bioweapons programs, and in 1928 began a 2-year tour of the West, where he did extensive research of the effects of biological warfare and chemical warfare developments from World War I onwards. Ishii's travels were highly successful, helping him win over the Japanese Minister of the Army and his funds. He also received backing from one of the minister's greatest rivals. In 1935, Ishii was promoted as Senior Army Surgeon Second Class, Surgeon Lieutenant Colonel, and on August 1st, 1936, Ishii would be given a formal control over Unit 731 and its research facilities. Under Ishii's control, the unit had conducted a variety of experiments, including but not limited to testing biological weapons on Chinese villages and forcing inmates to inflict syphilis on each other. Ishii also showed Tojo, who became Prime Minister in 1941, the films of the experiments. It's reported that Tojo had stopped watching them abruptly. Many promotions followed Ishii too. On March 1st, 1938, he was promoted to Senior Army Surgeon First Class, Surgeon Colonel. Then on March 1st, 1941, Assistant Surgeon General, Surgeon Major General. Funny how that's exactly 3 years later. Finally, on our last March 1st, in 1945, he was promoted to Surgeon General, Surgeon Lieutenant General. Also, near the end of the war, on August 1st, Ishii had been planning an attack on the West Coast involving plague-infected fleas, known as Operation Cherry Blossoms at Night. It was planned for September 22nd, but luckily, the war had ended because of the Japanese surrender on August 15th, 1945. Thank you for watching. Also, thank you for everyone for the advice and support, and have a good rest of your day.